Hi, friend. Welcome to Holly's Highlights, a podcast designed to encourage, inspire, and equip you to intentionally live your life full of purpose. I'm your host, Holly Kirby, motivational speaker, leadership cultivator, marketing strategist, and personal cheerleader. Let's check out today's highlight. This past week, I took my kids on a little road trip. A bucket list of mine had been to visit Mount Rushmore. So on a very, very spontaneous whim, we headed off on our little adventure. Now, driving through the open fields and the small towns of Wyoming and South Dakota, it just made me think of growing up traveling on road trips with my aunt and uncle. I would go to visit them in the summers for about a week or so, and as soon as we got to their house, now mind you, it was a good 3 to 4 hours from the airport, so we had just been on a little road trip. But as soon as we got to their house, it's like they would load up their things and say, we're heading back out on the road again. And it was like, wait, we just got here. So you never knew where you're going to end up going. We would go to Nashville or Branson or even Maine and Rhode Islands. It was always an adventure on the road with the two of them. I had such great memories from these road trips, though, that not only the adventures of being on them and what we did, but down to the very details of how the cool leather seats felt and the ice cold temperature that they would keep the car, but yet the coziness of the blanket and the pillow that they would have on hand for me in the back. And even how soothing it was listening to my uncle's deep voice as he and my aunt would just chit chat along the way. I loved listening to my uncle's voice. These memories got me thinking about this road trip that I was on with my kiddos here to Mount Rushmore. What would be their takeaway in years to come? But even further, it got me wondering how we remember people, such as this spontaneous road trip was making me think of my aunt and my uncle. This whole experience, though, it just made me think about how people will remember us. Specifically in that moment was, how are my kids going to remember me? Perhaps we can better grasp this by asking ourselves, how do we want to be remembered? I think the answer to that lies within a few reminders to ourselves. First of all, be authentic. Now, my brother is a very patient person. He and my mom are probably the two people I've known in my life with the most patience. They are amazing. Now, patience is a great trait. I know I have room to grow a lot in patience. But if I were to say I want to be remembered for being patient, no, that's not authentically who I am. So although there are some ways we may want to be remembered, we need to be true to ourselves and our genuine nature. Number 2, be intentional. Now, my dad is one who comes to mind for this one. Dad has always used opportunities to teach us or even do something special with us that he knew we wanted to do, or sometimes that we didn't want to do, but he knew that would be good for us. So, for example, while growing up, we would go camping, and my dad would use various opportunities to intentionally teach us, whether it be the importance of putting a tarp under your tent and a rain cover on your tent, or how to start a fire, or even nature hikes where he'd take us around the whole, not only camp area, but alongside the whole mountain, it seemed, and he'd alert us to the dangers of the wild, such as poison ivy, or even facts about how to tell what type of tree is what type of tree. He was very intentional in those teaching moments. Or at work, he was a senior pastor, and my dad, he would want to make sure that those who served in various ministries knew they made a positive impact and that he was grateful for their volunteering. So every year, he would host a very nice appreciation dinner with special recognitions voted on by the volunteers themselves and a dinner served to them, even tons of donated gifts from hotel night stays to entertainment tickets so that every volunteer went home with something. This was just one way that Dad could intentionally say thank you to those who worked alongside him in this ministry. Even the other night, my kids and I went to a local ball game with my dad, and while we were there, he offered to take my son on a little train ride that they have that wraps around on a walking path out in the outfield. He was intentional at spending one-on-one time with my son and taking him to do something my son would enjoy doing. So whatever it is that you're wanting to be remembered for, start being intentional about it. Invest time, invest energy, invest focus in being intentional in living out that fill in the blank each and every day, in every aspect of your life, in and through every way possible. Number 3, be in the moment. This one makes me think of my mom. Now, she passed away a year and a half ago to brain cancer, but man, was she always in the moment. She worked as a kindergarten and then first grade teacher for over 25 years, and she was always in the moment with those kids. She would have fun cowboy days and write silly songs for them to perform and just add those special touches to make each child feel loved and reminded that they belonged. Even after she would punch out for the day, parents from church or the neighborhood, they'd call her up or show up on our front doorstep or wherever it might be to ask her advice. In fact, one time we even ran into someone on a cruise ship. We were actually on a trip out of the country, and she ran into someone and the parent wanted to talk to her about some things. So it was kind of crazy. But mom would always stop and they would ask for advice on or even opinions on another school's situation or a child's learning difficulty, whatever it might be. And she would stop, even right there on her vacation, she would stop to be in the moment of helping them. Even if that meant dinner had to wait to get started or her errand would be pushed off to another day. And with our family, she was always perfectly content with whatever we were doing, whether she would truly enjoy something or not. We would enjoy it, but she was just focused on being in the moment of being with us. On this road trip that I was just on with my kids to Mount Rushmore, they constantly wanted to stop to fish. I think we were fishing 3, maybe even 4 times in one day alone. But as I sat there on the bench next to the lake, I thought of my mom and how she would have loved sitting there on the bench watching those munchkins fish. So I sat back, I kicked my feet up, and I chose to truly take in the moment that I was in. Not having to be at work, I got to be out in God's beautiful creation with my children, content as they could just cast their fishing rods in this picturesque lake. It was perfect. If there are certain ways we want to be remembered, we need to spend more time applying that fill in the blank of being in the moment to do so. For me, I want to be remembered as a woman who passionately loved, served, and was faithful to the Lord. A mother, daughter, sister, and aunt who dedicated herself to her family, and an encourager who desired to help others shine while pointing them to the one who could be the lifter of their head. As I often say, God is my foundation, and my family is my core. It is so important to me that my children know they are, will always be, and by the time I'm being remembered, have been a top priority in my life. Be authentic, be intentional, be in the moment. Maya Angelou has said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So how do you want to make people feel? Or in other words, how do you want people to remember you? And when do you start living out how you want to be remembered? Well, there is no better time than today. If you'd like more assistance in uncovering how you want to be remembered, identifying the obstacles holding you back, or even perhaps diving deeper in learning and building personal awareness, I'd value the opportunity to work alongside you. Feel free to check out my personal coaching services at www.hollycurby.com. That's HOLLYCURBY.com. Thank you for joining me on this journey of life. I hope that today's highlight has been encouraging, inspiring, and equipping so you can go out and live your life full of purpose. I'd be honored if you'd take a moment to leave a review, or better yet, subscribe. We can also stay in touch by joining my email list at hollycurby.com. That's HOLLYCURBY.com. Until next time, make it a great day for a great day.